Time for our Sunday class. Did you like our new bell I rang at the first, Lee?
I like that.
This is Dan and Lily, and we're here, and we're going through the Life of Christ in stereo. Let's hear the bell again. All the crowd liked it, too. Okay, Miss Lee, what's on the agenda today? I
need that bell to wake up a lot earlier.
We had such a wonderful class. Well, you need me not to talk on the phone all night to keep you awake.
That's true. That helps.
See, when Lily doesn't sleep. I don't
know. You're not making sense.
Life is not fun.
I am not grumpy.
No, I didn't say that. It's just not fun.
I'm giving him a dirty look, but you can't see that, which is a good thing.
You got to talk loud enough so they can hear you.
Okay, I'm giving him a dirty look, which is a good thing that you can't see it.
You're on the yellow now. Now you're almost on the red.
All right. Today we're talking about being excommunicated.
Oh, no.
For, what do you think for? Sin? For being drunkenly disorderly behavior? For
sex,
robbing
drugs, and rock and roll like they do in churches today?
For, let's see,
oh,
what
no,
else?
They don't do that anymore, do they?
For truthfulness.
Oh, no. People, it happened to me one time.
I know.
I got kicked out of a church not really too long ago. It's happened actually over my lifetime many times. As you tell the truth, they don't like it because it goes against the tradition of the elders. And that's Phariseeism, and that's what we're dealing with. This is the leaven of the Pharisees. Actually, I think I did it a long time ago when I was a young Christian. I spent a whole lot of time, it's back before you had the internet, it took a lot of work to get the books and go through the doctrines of the Pharisees. And you know what?
I remember you doing that.
I think it's one of the most important studies. It got me in lots of trouble. And the reason it gets me in lots of trouble because there's so much Phariseeism out there. There's Phariseeism in politics.
Yeah.
There's and that's where you have statism.
Yep.
Or spirit of party. That becomes more important than truth. You have Phariseeism in churchism, where the church or the systematic theology or the theologian you're following, Jesus, there's a tremendous book I'm reading about the individual. And this guy doesn't believe in Jesus at all. He's an atheist. But he sees clearly, he's a professor from over in Oxford, and he sees clearly, if it hadn't been for Christianity, we would all be groupies. And that's really the key to understanding the problems we face. Most people like to hide in the group.
Well, it's much easier to just be a part of the cog than the actual, I don't know.
And then there's the 1% that want to control the group. Mm-hmm. And then there's 3% that kind of work for the 1% to keep the group under control, the bureaucracy, you could say. And that's in churchism. That's in statism, and that's in, there's another ism that I'm just blanking out on. But anyway, there's lots of isms. Every ism works that way. Okay. What's Jesus have to say today?
Okay, well, let's say that we are still in, where are we now? We're still going through the verse, John 9, 1 through 10 and 21. And here's where we start. So a second time they summoned the man.
So wait a minute, this is the guy that we talked about last week who had been healed.
For a couple weeks
he manufactured an eyeball and put it in there, and the guy was healed. Then they really were ticked off.
They brought his parents, and
his parents
said,
whoa,
we don't know.
We're just living over here and making money. Go talk to him. He's his own man.
And then last week we talked about how Jesus didn't keep the Sabbath because he made this eyeball and
he worked, and that's work to make things.
So now here they are.
And the Pharisees actually had it if you did anything.
Oh, I know.
You almost just had to sit there and read
the. Were like so intense.
You just had to sit there and read the scriptures.
Yeah.
That was the only thing really almost you could do. Women couldn't fix meals.
No, that's why they did all, and
my wife would kind of like that.
Yeah, that'd be nice. And their
Although she wouldn't get pizza on Sunday.
their religious day starts from basically 6 o'clock, like say 6 o'clock. For Christians, we worship, quote unquote, go to church on Sunday. So our day would start at 6 o'clock Saturday night and go through 6 o'clock Sunday night. So after that time, you couldn't clean, you couldn't wash clothes, you couldn't prepare food. You had to have everything done and ready so that you would just do nothing the next day.
Right.
Okay, so for the second time, the Pharisees are bringing
They really
this man
don't
in.
like this guy.
No.
And the reason it is so obvious, Jesus is who he says he is.
Okay, so they said to him, "Give praise to God. We know that this man is a sinner." He answered therefore and said, "Whether he is a sinner, I do not know. One thing I do know, I was blind, but I now see."
Yeah. Now this is an interesting thing. This guy, he doesn't have a presupposition. He has evidence.
He doesn't have a theological training.
He has evidence.
He probably has not read any scriptures because he's been blind his whole life.
He has history.
Yeah.
I was blind,
But
and now I can
see.
see. Look at the evidence. And that's what Christians need to realize. Presuppositionalism is not biblical.
Okay, now explain what that
Okay,
means.
that's where everybody is just determined by their presuppositions. They just follow it.
What is
No,
a presupposition?
To
Can you tell me?
presuppose ideas. In other words, some people presuppose.
Assume, kind of assume.
Some people presuppose there's a God, and some people don't. And those that presuppose there's a God are going to heaven. Those that presuppose there isn't are going to hell. I mean, it's like that almost.
It's that simple.
It's not quite that simple,
but
it's-
almost.
And see, that's why. No, we are here. That's why we're told to go and teach and evangelize, and we use evidence. And one of the greatest evidences, you know what it is, don't you?
No, I was
What's
zoning
the greatest?
out there for a minute.
Oh, you were out there. I caught you.
I was zoning.
I saw
Okay.
you going on.
Yeah, I was thinking about something else. Okay, go ahead. It was important, but it was something else.
I saw you. Let's see.
You're gonna give me a.
I saw you.
That is a good zone out.
You were going.
All right, what were you asking? Ask the question. You probably can't remember the question now.
And everybody thinks that's funny.
Yeah, right.
Okay, I don't. You've lost it. So, I don't know. Where were we at?
Let's
Go
just
on.
go
We
on.
can't
All right.
rewind.
All right, no rewind. This is a live
This is because
podcast,
Lee didn't
guys.
sleep last night. We are so tired.
All right, so
She
the
is.
man says he doesn't know whether Jesus is a sinner or not, but look, all I know is that,
Oh, evidence.
evident.
He had evidence. I was blind, and now I can see.
Which isn't that
he-
that term in Amazing Grace? That's in Amazing Grace, I think.
Yeah.
Part of Amazing
Yeah, that's
Grace.
right. I was blind,
But
now I see. Yeah.
Which means more than just physical sight.
Yeah,
too,
that's
but-
right.
Okay.
Well,
so,
and that's the problem here. They can see physically the guy's healed too.
yeah, but
They're
don't
not
have-
questioning the facts,
They don't
are
have-
they?
No, they're questioning. Who is this Jesus guy?
They're questioning the
we don't-
source.
He says he's God, but
The
we don't
source. They're not questioning the facts. They're questioning the source. And that's what people do. See, and they're not doing it to Jesus now. They're doing it to this guy who's now
believe him.
a follower of Jesus. Because
Yeah.
he was blind and now he can see.
He said, "Look, this guy healed me. I don't know everything else, but I know that it's
And
true.
he gives them a
It's
theological.
a true fact.
It's a true fact.
True
And
fact.
he doesn't argue all the philosophical points of
No.
that. He just says, I
real
was
simple.
blind
Real
and now I
simple.
can. Here's the evidence. And so what they're going to do now is try to, every way they can, to suppress the truth in unrighteousness.
He has the faith of a little child, and Jesus said, "Let the
Yeah.
little children
Yeah.
come to me." They see something, they believe it.
Yeah.
So
So let's
that's
hear
what
how he does this.
Okay. And they spoke to him once more. "What did he do to you? How opened he your eyes?" Or how did he open your eyes?
Mhm.
And he answered them, "I told you already, and you did not listen." I told you this once
See, they're
already.
trying to
Why weren't you
find.
listening?
They're trying to find something wrong with his evidence.
Now this is funny. The next thing is funny. "Why do you wish to hear it again? Do you also wish to become his
Yeah,
disciples?"
isn't he
This
perplexed?
guy is like, wow, you
Yeah.
want to know more about him too.
Yeah.
Okay, so the man says he doesn't know whether Jesus is a sinner or not, but one thing I do know, I was blind, but now I see. He said, "Look, this guy healed me. I, you know, I don't know everything else, but I know that it's true."
And He was zoning them out.
Then they railed at him, which means
Rail.
Not rain, but railed.
The thunder is lightning and coming. They're coming at him.
I mean, I can just picture them in my mind, red-faced, puffed up. They want to smack them in the head with a 2x4, but they don't.
I've been there many times.
I know.
Because missionaries, we tend to be on the tip of the spear. We tend to be out there dealing with the issues that most people aren't dealing with in culture, and.
And they're so mad that he asked them if they wanted to follow him, because that's the last thing on their minds. Okay, so then they railed at him and said, "You are his disciple, but we are disciples of Moses. We know that God has spoken to Moses, but as for this fellow, we know not where he is from." They are so mad, aren't they?
Well, they also, they did know where he's from, because they knew he was from Galilee, and they knew he was born in Bethlehem. They knew all that. Yeah. They're just lying now. Yeah. This is a tactic. Wait a minute. It's a tactic. Now they've shifted to win the argument as opposed to seek the truth. And this is very important.
And I think that this is a great example of when the average person, like I'm an average person, I'm not a theological expert. I read the Bible and I believe what the Bible says.
Lee has more Bible training in school than I do.
But I'm an average person.
Lee knows more than I do. But she's humble, and she tries to pretend she doesn't know, but Lee is really smart.
But anyway, this is an average person who reads the Bible and believes it, talking to the theological masters of divinity,
right?
And because he knows the truth, and that's
he knows what he has seen,
and he
has the evidence. Yep. And the question is now, who do we attribute this to, God or to the devil?
So the man answered and said to them, "This truly is a marvel that you know not where he is from, yet he opened my eyes."
Now this is interesting. Because now the marvel has shifted from his healing.
Are you stupid or
to
something?
The marvel. You don't get
How
this?
How can you not know where he's from?
And I see that all the time when I talk to people. It's a marvel that they don't want to know.
Yeah.
They refuse to know. And the Bible calls it suppressing the truth and unrighteousness.
Present the facts, the evidence,
present
the
facts,
truth, the historical evidence.
The evidence of
I don't
things.
Want to know.
And
they
it just like it hits a wall and falls off, or it hits a weapon and shoots back. This is the way the heart of man is when he hates God.
Yeah.
And loves self. Now these people weren't probably drug, sex, and rock and roll people. No. These were Pharisees. They were law keepers. They really went to every
Very
link.
religious. Wore the proper clothing, ate the right foods.
They did they did. Did lots of ceremonies that were tradition, not biblical. Yeah. But they were methodical at their religious ceremony. Yes. And see, that's part of churchism. The churchism doesn't say we have to sing 3 songs in the Sunday service. It says making a melody in your heart. Churchism doesn't say you have to have 1,000 people in your church. It says where 2 or 3 are gathered. Churchism tends to do these ceremonial things that substitute for heart change, and that's what we see here. These guys, they would have brought the sacrifice to the temple. They would have given every little dot and piece of their tithe. They were religious ceremonial keepers. Kind of like Islam prays 5 times a day. They pray 5 times a day and they kill people.
Yeah.
Now that seems illogical. No, that's when you become churchism or ceremonial. Your ceremonies substitute for presenting your body living and holy sacrifices to God. And that's what they're doing. And Jesus is really exposing it.
Well, this is the man. This is the blind man.
Yeah, well, Jesus is exposing it because he did this.
Okay, so he said, now we know that God, and this is still him. No, let's see, is this? I am confused now. Yeah, this is still the man talking. Now we know that God does not hear sinners, but if anyone is a worshiper of God and does his will, then he hears. Not in all time has it ever been heard that anyone opened the eyes of one born blind. If this man were not from God, he could do nothing. This is this blind guy
giving a theological dissertation.
To these religious leaders.
Because it didn't meet our system.
Mm-hmm.
We had constructed a theological system, not the law, not the Bible. That's why I'm a biblicist and Miss Lee's a biblicist. We don't want to get trapped into systems. Now, does that mean I don't study Phariseeism? Yeah, I study Pharisees. Some of the things Pharisees did was good. I study cults. There's some of the things they do are good. That's why they attract people. They have methods.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
They have methods that are attracting. Usually there's, and the key to these methods, almost every cult, I think I could go so far to say every, has methods that attract people that are good. They substitute those self-righteousness. That's what I could say, absolutely. Every religion, every system, even atheism, substitutes self-righteousness. They are the most self-righteous, arrogant group of people because they think their brain is better than yours. They worship their mind.
Well, they think they're smarter.
Brain.
They've
That's
got
their
it
brain.
Figured out.
Yeah,
better than you do. So.
They're the smartest people in the world, and you're an ignorant
elite. They
savage.
think they're stronger. You're weak because you believe in
well,
God.
Most of them are, but sadly, because most Christians will fold if anything happens. But that doesn't mean we have to, and we see in Jesus he didn't. And this guy,
and this
here's
man,
this. It's not a matter of training.
We don't know how old he is.
It's a matter of courage.
We don't know how old he is, but
character.
You know, in that period of time, a blind person would have basically just been taken care of because they would, they didn't have
that's what
braille,
he was just
and
blind.
they didn't have jobs for disabled people, so he would have been just taken care of by his parents.
His family.
That's all they knew.
Well, it's more than parents because family was much bigger.
Aunts, uncles, grandparents,
it was
brothers,
very
sisters.
tribal in the way of thinking.
So
the group,
it's like, where did he get so smart? How does he know this?
Yeah.
So then the Pharisees, so he gives them this whole, what do you call it? A religious dissertation? Is that what you called it? Theological dissertation.
Theological dissertation on
the authority of God and who Jesus is.
On evidence.
Yeah, evidence. Okay, so he gives them all this, and then they, the Pharisees, answered him and said, "You were utterly born in sins, and are you teaching us?" Isn't that the arrogance of those who think
they are not
superior?
seeking truth? They're seeking now degrees. See, that is exactly what's going on in statism right now. Washington, D.C., are you people out there in flyover country teaching us?
Yeah, exactly.
We are the experts. See, that once you get into this traditional stuff, the leaven of the Pharisees, your group, it could be Republican Party, it could be Democrat Party, and not that the party in themselves is a bad idea.
Mm-hmm.
It's the idea that when it becomes the absolute.
That's
what they've done.
In the churches, when the pastors or the leaders think that they're the only ones that can interpret the Word of God or tell you how to live, that you're just ignorant people.
Because, and this is something I've lived by for almost all my Christian life, is, I don't stand before a church leader, I don't stand before a government leader, and I don't stand before a work leader in the end. I stand before the Lord.
Yes.
And that's the final judge. And I do that naked and individual.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I think we Christians have forgotten the individual. The individual is really, Adam was an individual. And then the group came.
Yeah.
I was thinking about that first. He needed the group. He wanted the group. He was lonely because he was made to have a group. But the individuals first. Mm-hmm. And what the Pharisees have done is they've made you serving the Sabbath, you serving
that's what this whole thing is
you
about.
Serving the group, you serving the party, you serving the denomination. No, we serve the Lord and work through these institutions. They're not bad, but when they elevate them to being the Lord, that becomes evil. And
Mhm.
many churches, many civil societies, that's what's going on in America in our civil society. They're elevating either the country or the party or their ideology, a leader as absolute, as the truth. No,
Yeah.
the truth is the truth,
Mhm.
and we're a constitutional republic. But anyway, back to this.
Okay, and so they, they basically put him down and say, we don't care
We
who
need
you
to get
think you are,
going here.
and they thrust him out. So they
put him out of the synagogue.
They
They excommunicated.
Yeah.
They kicked him out of the church because he got healed.
Yeah. And because he pointed them back to God.
Because when they asked him questions, he
Yeah.
gave them, well, this is what happened. And you don't see
He
it?
said, how can you know that? Who are you to
But
say
is that
this?
the end?
That's the end of our...
Well,
reading for
that
today.
is exactly the issue in all these groups. The Pharisees, the Sadducees, and the Herodians, which is the statism, the churchism, and, the tribalism, you could say. All the different tribes, be it
Mhm.
political tribes, be it civil tribes, be it cultural tribes. Was very interesting, and I'll conclude with this. Sheriff Clark was talking this week about what's happened up in Milwaukee. He's the sheriff in Milwaukee. This man is awesome. If anybody, you should listen to things he has to say. He's a Christian, just really has insight. And he talked about how what happened once the civil society broke down, it became the law of jungle, and tribalism took over, and it just became a mob.
Mhm.
And he says that has to stop. And that's why but here the same thing happened with the Pharisees.
Yeah.
The tribalism of the Pharisees took
About
over,
2,000 years ago.
and
Yeah.
they threw him out, and they began to conspire to throw all the people out and kill. So anyway, this has been Dan and Lee
Talking on a
in
Sunday.
our Sunday class. And we invite you to go to our webpage, oursundayclass.simplesite.com. I got that this week because I wrote it down. And pray that I don't keep Miss Lee up all night doing phone calls and doing things, because it's wearing her out.